Entrepreneurs and business owners have been eagerly awaiting the federal budget to see what, if anything, will be there to spur innovation. That story kicks off the roundup. The government has committed $2 billion over 2 years for a low-carbon economy fund and more than $1 billion over 4 years to future clean technology investments. It backtracked on plans to change the way stock options are taxed, which will please technology startups, but it also backtracked on the proposal to cut the small business income tax rate, which will remain at 10.5%. Nicole Verkindt is the founder and president of OMX. She's here to talk about this and other stories. What's your reaction to some of this news, Nicole?
Well, I was pleased to see that they backed off of the stock options. I mean, that's a really critical, important tool that we use in startups to compensate employees for essentially coming in and being paid less than their market rate and market values. And it keeps everybody on the same page, and they're all motivated and working towards the same goal, which is growing the company. So
you were dreading if they had taxed those stock options?
Yeah, and everyone on our team was dreading it as well. It really caught everyone's attention. So I'm really glad they backed off of that. There's not a lot of details that I can see about the other funds that they're going to create, but increased support for IRAP is good. I've also used that.
Yeah, tell us, what is IRAP?
It's a program that will match funding for technical projects. So we used it to build OMX at first and then to add on more technical features. So
it's a loan or a grant?
It's a grant. And I mean, we're competing against, we're actually next to an innovation elephant in the United States, where we're competing against people who are being paid more, they're paying less taxes, they're being paid in US dollars. And for entrepreneurs, they're raising capital from VCs that are giving better terms, and it's easier to find capital. So we have a lot to compete against the United States, which is right next to us. So we need to have a framework for an ecosystem in Canada that supports innovation. And these programs they act as catalysts early on in a company's decision-making process as to whether or not they're going to build those actual extra technical features or get through the valley of death, we call it, which is the commercialization valley, then it's good.
All right, so you're pleased with what you're seeing. Well, let's talk about another big story today in that regards. Apple, the battle between Apple and the FBI over encryption has taken a sudden and dramatic turn. The FBI has delayed the latest court hearing in its fight to get Apple to break the encryption on a phone used by a gunman in California. It now says an unnamed, non-governmental third party has approached it with a technique to unlock the phone. The FBI says the method will have to undergo testing to make sure it won't compromise the material on the device, so today's hearing needed to be postponed. Do you think you know who might have unlocked this phone, Nicole?
I know, this is unfortunate, and I was looking forward to the court actually, taking the stand and setting a precedent and backing, hopefully, the tech community on where they stood on this. So this is an unfortunate turn, and it doesn't surprise me. When you run a technology company, you're constantly patching and increasing security, and it's kind of an arms race in its own regard. So this is concerning.
All right, one other story for you, and that is about Calgary-based Terra Energy, small energy producer with oil and gas facilities in Alberta and BC. It's laid off most of its staff and is shutting down operations. Last week, Terra found out Canadian Western Bank was exercising its right to call in its $16 million loan. Despite being actively engaged in asset sales and restructuring since September, the oil and gas producer says it can't meet its debts. So what do you think, Nicole? Is this the beginning? Are we going to see more examples of this very soon?
Unfortunately, I think this is just the beginning. And I know when your inclination is, when your top line comes down, is to increase your production to cover your overheads. But if you're not contributing to gross margin, then you're going to run off a cliff eventually. And it sounds like that's what's happened here. And it truly does sound like just the beginning. But the only good side of this story is that if this happens to a few firms and it actually does bring down production, then we might see prices come back up.
All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dan.